everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Ramblings of Designer podcast. This is a weekly podcast where we talk about the latest in graphic design news from around the web. My name is Adam. I'm a designer from the San Francisco Bay Area. I specialize in visual UI design with a little bit of illustration. I like to give companies character. And every week I'm joined by my co-host, Terry. How's it going, Terry?
Hey, Adam. I'm doing great. As Adam says, my name is Terry. I'm a UX UI designer in the Bay Area, and I help bridge the gap between products and their end users.
And to start off the show, we always like to talk about how our week was since we last spoke. So, Terry, how was your week?
Week is going good. I am doing some side work. Well, kind of side my own project work. I'm rebranding my website, trying to get that done. I'm working on an article right now. I have been trying to do some code, but it's been spitting back in my face. And the funny thing is that code doesn't spit out of your computer, but it feels like it's like going, neener, you can't figure this out. So yeah, so that's been going so much fun. And that's about it. How about you, Adam?
Yeah, work has been keeping me a little busy, but still I haven't been doing as much, although I have been reading a lot more. I've been starting to read a book about business. So I'm trying to get more of my business game on. And so little by little, I'm reading a little bit more about that. Other than that, not much. All right. So why don't we just. Oh, any gripes this week by any chance?
Mm, no, not for me. I don't call it a gripe. I'm just happy it's not as hot.
I know it started to get like foggier and windier, but then in San Francisco it was pretty hot and sunny today, so it doesn't know what kind of weather it wants to be. Anyway, let's
Crazy.
get into the news. Beep, 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 beep. So Terry, what articles do you have to start us off?
Okay, I am gonna go with. I'm gonna probably butcher his name. Keegan D. Swenson, I think. Sorry, Keegan, if you're listening to this. But this is the title called Your 90 Days as a UX Writer. The reason why I'm bringing this up because it seems like more and more companies they don't have content designers. So as you design your own app, or if you're working on a project, you have to come up with a copy. And that is not easy. That
Mm.
is definitely not easy. So I thought this was like really interesting of what a UX writer or a content designer, what they have to go through and, in the first 90 days, 30, 60, 90 days. And that's a great question to actually ask them if you're interviewing. So I just wanted to point that out too. So as you continue through everything, he continued saying like, well, you read a lot of articles about what's UX writing and the content strategy, and you wrote thousands of emails, meetups actually to get that job. And and then he made a point saying design is never over, which it's not because you just design, and make revisions. But he gives 3 bullet points of what you would like to accomplish. So I'm just going to read the first one. It says, understanding the goals of the organizations by meeting your teammates. So again, this keeps on going, what you're trying to do when you get a job. So anyway, he goes through phase 1, meet human beings. So anyway, he talks about within for your next 30 days of what to build, which any new job you go into, of course, you want to build relationships with your teammates and extra teams, and other teams. And then as you scroll down, he's talking about that, and he gives you some examples if you're actually getting stuck. So I'll just read like the first 2. what's the most important part of that experience? Who are the customers, or how do they currently solve their problem? So again, he gives you great examples. And then from there, he talks about phase 2, putting out fires, building foundations. You can get stuck on number 1, just putting out fires. You can be doing that for the whole month if you're working for an ad agency or any type of agency, because there's a lot of fires for sure. But anyways, you know, he will continue to write about that and everything. And then you keep scrolling, and then there's phase 3, present your strategy, seek feedback, and it goes on. And I think phase 3 is really important, because you want to present your work, get feedback, and just improve. So it's like a cycle, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, and keep going. And then he comes back saying the conclusion. So he talks about that. And what I like about there's this one sentence in there. He says, language is a tricky business, which it is a tricky business if you really think about it. So, Adam, what did you think?
Yeah, UX writing or just writing in general is probably one of the toughest things for me as well. It's so hard to make that story, have a consistent story, and have it be in the same voice throughout. There's a lot of factors that I still need to wrap my head around with that. So I need to, I know I definitely need to find a one good book. So if anybody could recommend anything specifically on UX writing, I'm definitely interested.
Cool. Okay, Adam, so what do you have for us?
Yeah, so for my first article, this comes from IDEO, and it's called Sharpen Your Writing, A Designer's Guide. And this is by Alex Gallivant. And he just talks about a process or strategy that they've adopted at IDEO to maybe get a little bit better sense on writing. So here we're talking about writing, right? Here's another example. And so one of the things that they did is they picked out some of their favorite quotes, right? Or quotes that they felt were strong and powerful. And they printed it out on a big poster board so that everybody could see. And then what they did is they attached sticky notes to it. And it allowed kind of just everybody to comment on what made the quote good or bad, or what they liked about it, what was strong about it, you know. And so this could be any type of inspiration you got out of it. You could put it on, right? And one example is they did a quote from Alice Walker from The Color Purple, and the quote was, "You better not never tell nobody but God." Wait, I feel like you better not never tell nobody but God. Yeah, I guess I did say it right. And then so some of the comments um, about like what the what makes it powerful. One was the rhythm, that has really great rhythm, and somebody broke down kind of the beats. And it says, another quote or another comment is, does the reader feel guilty for knowing what it is, or immediate sense of character and relationship? And yeah, so I like the idea of getting pieces that you like. This may work for UX writing, it may work for anything, right? If you find an inspiration, a great design somewhere, a great app, a great experience, post it on the wall and have people critique it in a way that lets everybody kind of know what works about it. And maybe you can find hints and tips and tricks from everybody. So you're like crowdsourcing critique about what makes things good. And so I thought that was a pretty cool tip, and I wanted to share it with you all. Terry, your thoughts?
No, I think this is excellent. I'm thinking in my head like workshop, um, it'd be like an icebreaker for people just to jump
Mm-hmm.
in.
Mm.
So, I mean, this activity has a lot of value, but not only
Mm-hmm.
for writing, but just being inspiration, and just for people to break out of their shell. And there's like no judgment, because technically there's no right or there is no right or wrong answer, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just people just to just be activated. So I think this is pretty awesome.
Yeah, so I definitely like the idea of having it as a workshop or like as an icebreaker. And I definitely also like the idea of having it just like on the board as a casual thing, right? Because oftentimes, sometimes, at least for me, sometimes things need to sit with me. And so if I could have a moment or a day, or I'm just looking at it like in the cafeteria at lunch, and I get an idea, I'm like, oh, right, this is why I like it, right? So it also gives a passive, like critique at your leisure type of thing. And so it allows the time to have people think about it too. And I love that idea as well. So maybe having both strategies, or, maybe just have it be something that's part of both processes, just part of your regular everyday kind of team exercise. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah. No, it's brilliant actually. It's really, really brilliant. I think it can it can solve it can solve like a lot of things, I think.
Hmm.
Team building, cross pollination, absolutely. No, this is really neat. Awesome.
Yeah. So that is Sharpen Your Writing, a designer's guide, and you can find it at IDEO.com. So Terry, what do you got?
Okay, well, we're getting off the subject of writing. So now we're going to go into the subject of cooking. So this is from the NNG Nielsen Normus Group. And this is called the 3-click rule for navigation is fault. And this is by Page. I'm going to butcher his last name, so I'm not going to say it. I can say his first name very well. So anyways, he goes into saying the 3-click rule. So I'm going to read the first sentence. And I thought it was just kind of interesting. So this article, it's definitely a big, long, depth article that he gives great examples of where the click goes are practiced better than counting clicks. The 3-click pushes towards overly broady navigation, and it's really great. But what I thought it was very interesting is the first sentence. The 3-click rule is a persistent, unofficial heuristic that says that no page should take more than 3 clicks or taps on a touchscreen to access. And then he continues to say a variation in pronouns that the most important information take no more 3 clicks to get to. Often designers, us, apply this rule for website navigation, informational seeking task, but some also invoke it for other types of tasks, such as compiling a form or a wizard. So, and then he keeps on saying the big problem with the 3-click rule is that it has not been supported by data in any published studies to date. So he goes into saying by Joshua Porter has actually debunked it because the study showed that basically the user drop off does not increase when the task actually involves more than 3 clicks. So I'm going to leave it at there. I would advise you to get a coffee, tea, cocoa, snacks, cookies, whatever. Sit down and really read this. Actually, I had to read this a couple times myself because it's really in depth and he gives really great examples and why and everything as well. So, um, and then if you scroll down, he actually has a video down here. It says how many items in a navigation menu, which actually that was kind of cool to watch too. So, Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting subject because I know there's in some situations there's like no way to have things in just 3 clicks. Like I think about Target, I think about Amazon, and they're just flooded with information and content everywhere that to try to boil it down and say get to the right category that you're looking for in 3 clicks is insane. But to better categorize your content so that it's quicker to find, sure, that's great. I know for me, my strategy is try to look for something as quickly as possible, but I don't give up, right? I'm still trying to find something. And so I think for me, it's more like how long can I go before I give up and go to the search? And then if I can't find it through the search, then it's other methods. But like people are determined to get to their destination, and so I really don't see abandonment by hard to find being an issue. I think abandonment by never finding something is an issue. But I figure, yeah, people do tend to like try to find something, and I don't see people giving up that often. So yeah, I could see definitely that maybe 3 clicks um isn't the that should be a rule, but I would also say that it's nice to have. Like, why not? Why not have things as quickly accessible as possible? But depends on the situation, right? Everybody's different.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Adam, what do you have?
Yeah. So the next article I found is called "Branding is Dead. CX Design is King," and this is by Micah Bowers at Toptal.com. And so pretty much it gives you a breakdown of what's the difference between UX design and CX design, right?
Hmm.
And in his, to quickly go over his definition, he kind of basically says that UX now it's associated with users' interactions with digital products, right? And so think a website, think apps and such. And CX design, that really encompasses everything else, right? When we talk about CX design, I guess we talk about every single touch point that the user goes through that's not that digital product. So some of the examples is like, okay, let's say you have a website, right? Let's say uh, let's say Little Caesars Pizza Place. Well, let's say something better than that. Well, okay, Little Caesars. And so what he's saying is that, okay, you have your branding and site, right? At Little Caesars. But when you go into the store, does the store's aesthetics match the website? Does the packaging, does the food kind of resonate with the same message? And so that's where kind of customer design really kind of does its work. And he has a breakdown. He has like a diagram, although it's weird because he puts UX in the customer experience design. So I would figure I'd figure they worked hand in hand, but I don't think like one's in the other. I don't know. I guess it depends. So what he puts under customer experience is brand reputation, customer service, empathy, value, sales, advertising, marketing. What he puts under UX experience is information architecture, interaction design, content strategy, empathy, visual design. So I kind of see his point. I get the idea that, there are definitely different touch points and we have to all make them consistent. I didn't realize that that was considered customer experience. I thought that was just branding design, and that's what the role of a branding designer would do. But I guess our branding designers now being are now considered customer experience designers, or is that a part of customer experience? I'm not sure. The breakdown seems kind of funny to me since um, this isn't my specialty. But what are your thoughts? How do you feel about is branding dead and CX king?
Um, I do get his point,
Mm-hmm.
and Micah just brings a good point. When he talks about the UX design, right? Typical refers to quality interaction between user and the digital, and then he talks about CX design, which is focused on improving on the person's experience,
Mm-hmm.
right, with a company. So there is he talking about service design from end to end, at some point, or that's the customer experience. So I think it can go separate, but then again, it can go together. It's the slippery slope. I'm not saying he's wrong, but I'm not saying he's right. But then again, maybe maybe the first of his title, Branding is Dead. Well, maybe branding is dead because maybe the branding part is on the CX cusp, right? Because now it's not only the branding itself, like the logo, the colors. I mean, that can do so much, but when it comes down to it, it's the consumer that buys the brand. It's the consumer that, yeah, buys the product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the title is a little sensational, clickbaity, right? Because his last paragraph kind of says the CX strengths of brand relevance. So he says branding is dead. Hardly, it's stronger than ever, right? And he goes into why that is. But then he also said branding isn't dead, but the days of crafting brands without incorporating CX design mindset is drawing to a close. Yeah, and he doesn't say how it relates with service design as well. Like, it's a little. I would love to see what the state is between the two. Is what does one relate in with the other? How do they interact with one another? Right. So it's. I want to see what that breakdown is.
Yeah. Yeah. But also too, I think how he wrote it was brilliant because again, he's making you think. Do you agree with him? Do you not agree with him? Is it something different? Can it be something different? Is this gonna change in the next 5 years or 2 years or 2 months? I mean, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But at least this was a solid article to to actually evaluate your own thoughts. What do you believe? What do you think? Instead of somebody telling you, oh, that's wrong, or it should be like this, right? How the way he wrote it, it really makes you think. And I think Micah did a really great job with that. Absolutely.
Yeah, he definitely goes in depth of like just the whole idea of what branding's essence or CX's essence is and how it really relates to branding and how branding is used throughout the whole experience. And it's not just a style guide. It's not just they're finding the right colors and imagery, but it's also a, a whole experience in itself, right? How the customer gauges throughout the whole company. And yeah, I thought it was great. Even when you have to call and interact with the company, how's that experience like, right? It should all kind of revolve around the same message.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Great. So that was branding is dead. CX design is king. And that's at topledesign.com.
That's cool. I I still like branding is dead. It's dead,
I know.
but it's not. It
You're
was kind
like,
of funny though.
what? Now I'm intrigued,
What?
right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I think, hey, he was going fishing. He got two fish.
Yeah, I know. Well, it definitely got me reading it, so it worked.
Yeah, exactly. So, kudos to Micah on that.
So that's all I got. Terry, what do you got?
I don't know. That's it for me. Or for us, I should say. Not for me. We're a team. Duh. So, anyways, yeah.
So, Terry,
Sorry.
where can we find you on the internet?
Oh, yes. You can find me on Twitter. My handle name is Flaxenink, FLAXENINK. And you can find me on Insta. It's FLAXENINK.design. And Adam, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter at Adan Cepeda. That's AdanZepeda. And you can find me at Instagram at adanz.designs. And if you find me on the internet, give me a hi, and I'll say hi back. And then that'll be the end of it. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, uh, critiques, if you want your critique, any questions for our guests? Like our last episode, we had Alistair Somerville. And so if you have any questions for him, maybe let us know. Send your questions to ramblingsofAdesignerblog@gmail.com. And also, if you like these interview episodes, let us know as well, because it's something that we've been playing around with. So it'd be great to get our listener feedback on that.
Yeah, absolutely. But also too, somebody did ping me today, which
Oh,
I
awesome.
have to write them back. They asked for actually giving tips. I'm sorry. Okay, let me rewind a little bit. They're going to be doing their first boot camp, looking at students' portfolio, and she's been working for about a year. So anyway, she reached out to me saying, "Hey, I'm going to this portfolio boot camp. It's my first time. What kind of feedback can I give?" Like, oh, so I thought that was really, really cool. So anyways, this is my answer, but I'm gonna write her back. The trends that basically I've seen, if you're new to the industry, is layout, typography, and alignment and spacing. Because if you don't have the foundation for that, any lead designer, any art director, anybody that's doing the hiring, if they see one little area that's aligned, they're all up, I'm done. So really work on the foundations for that. White space, aligned, use your 12 column grid, and just practice and look and look and look. So anyways, I thought I would say that. And sorry, I should have said that at the beginning of the show instead of at the end of the show.
No problem. Wow, that
Makes sense.
we
Well,
got.
that's why it's rambling, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for me.
All right, that's it.
All
So
right.
see you all next week.
Aloha. Bye-bye.
Bye.